This is the riverbank. I'm just panning around. This is what the riverbank looks like. It's just all these organisms all over. And there's a lot of them. Like, no matter where you point the camera, you can just see them rotating counterclockwise, and they're going very slow now, and they're easy to see, but once they cluster up and pick up speed, they're going to start glowing. Okay, so this is what the plants look like. None of the plants are plants anymore. They are just these organisms, and this gives you an example of what plants are really like. This is the real picture of the plants. No matter how you see them and how real they seem, this is what they look like. They are made up of all of these organisms, because these organisms have taken over all the plants. They consumed the plants, and now they have taken their place. So this is what the plants look like. This is a perfect example of what the plants look like. And if I go in closer, you can see that it's just these organisms, and they're in all colors because they all have different levels of in their cycles. They're not all at the same level of development, so they have different stages in their cycles, and they are all together and are going to form a large cluster. Just look at that. It's starting to like form larger clusters. But I just want to back off to show that these are the plants. These are the plants along the river. And no matter where the plants are, look at all the organisms. Just the whole place is steaming. And I came here because it's near dusk right now, and it's getting dusk, because this is the time these organisms really showed themselves. They work on a 12-hour shift, which is their natural cycles. So now the ones that were on the ground, in the water, and on everything on the ground or in the water, now they are moving up into the air, and the others that were in the air are coming down to take their place. So I don't know why they alternate like that, but this is just one example. It shows how their cycle runs at a 12-hour sort of shift. Just want to go somewhere else. Just look. No matter where I point the camera, if you're in the woods, and I am in the woods, I'm like 7 miles from anywhere. Okay, look. Now you saw it as a plant just before. As soon as you come close to it, you don't see the plant anymore. Watch, I'll back off. They look like plants even more. This is the riverbank. Just grass along the riverbank. Now watch when I come close to it. Now this is what the grass is made up of. It's all these organisms moving around and around counterclockwise. And as they speed up those revolutions counterclockwise, they're going to have an imaginary nucleus and start creating clusters. And the orbs in the center of the cluster will act as the larger part of the nucleus, and that will start to glow, because around them even a larger cluster will form that will act as the greater cluster, and this greater cluster will accelerate faster and faster around the nucleus counterclockwise, and forcing the orbs inside the nucleus to themselves accelerate faster and faster until they reach a high enough speed to power up the orbs and create plasma just by their sheer velocity, because as they go through the air, they create friction, and that creates plasma. So you can see how they this is how they blur the camera. If they get in front of your camera, they just do that, and then they blur the image. because what they can do is going to smaller particles, they can subdivide, and then you can't see anything because they are so microscopic that you can't actually show them. They're so small. So let me just show another part. Okay, there's more. It's starting to get really dark. Okay, here's a rock on the water. Let's see if there's any on that. Look at that. This is the rock on the water. Now you can see them against the rock. This is all that's coming out of the water. I'm just gonna lower this down a little bit to the water. Okay, there's the water. Hold on. Okay, here's a brighter spot. Let's go here and see. Okay, now watch what's in the water. Okay, that's the water just going by pretty swiftly because the river is faster here and it's not that deep. But this is what's coming out of the water. So there are just as many entities in the water as there are in all the plant life and trees and everything along the banks. So they're just everywhere. These are on me now because I'm right in the middle of them, and they move so fast that you can't really properly see them. Just look at that. This is all underwater. I'll just try and catch a few orbs if I can. It's too dark, but I may be able to catch some orbs just moving. The water's moving very fast. When I get to a place where I can show them moving, notice how they just blur up the image. And this is all on top of the water, and like right at the water. And look, that whole energy field is them. That's on top of the water. Okay, so that's all them, and they're creating even an energy field above the water. Watch. Okay, so they're creating an energy field right on the water. That means there's going to be a cluster right there, either above or in the water. And there's a whole lot of them all over. Look at on the side. I'm just gonna try and show a tree or two before it gets really too dark. Okay, over here, some more water. Let's see what's over here. See if we can pick up any in the dark. Too bad I didn't put it on night vision. Now, I don't want to stop everything, but let's see if we can see some just in the water. Now, all those white little things that look like waves is just them, because there are no waves there. The water is pretty smooth. And there's no reflection because the sun is down and it's nighttime now. I mean, it's almost really dark out. So any of these, you can see them glowing in the air. And they're coming right off the water. And they're all different colors. You see how they group together and swarm? And they're coming right out of the water. Because the water is also saturated with these organisms. Just look. Now you tell people that these things are in the water and they think you're crazy, but look, you know, maybe they're crazy for not believing it. Look how they can blur the camera just by swarming. And what they're doing is swarming in front of the camera between me and the place where I want to film, and then they create a blur. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the camera. And those are all orbs moving in the water. Those are not white water rapids or anything like that. The river is not fast enough for that sort of thing here. That's orbs making that whole thing, because it's them moving all over through the water. If you notice the movement, it's not just downriver, it's all around the place. Up the river, down the river, it's in circles, it's in all kinds of different ways. That's because the orbs are starting to become active and they're ready to just leave the whole area here and leave the water and go up into the sky. So watch. This is what they're doing just above the water. And you can see how fast they move and how many there are. They're just everywhere on everything, and there is no stopping these things, how many of them there are. There's just so many. So I'm not going to make this video long, because the moon, I can see it, it's come up. I want to save some battery life for that. What I want to do is just show this a little bit more. I want to just show the way they're leaving the water, or in the water. You can see them starting to glow right in the water. Okay, that's what I wanted to show, them glowing in the water. And you can see how many are in the water right now, and they're glowing and visible. Now these are inside the water and under the water. I'm shooting right at the water. See how they swarm and want to blur the camera? Because they're intelligent. They know I'm here and filming them. They can sense the camera and me, and they're you know, obviously not happy that I'm filming them. Just look, that's all them. But I'm gonna back off a little bit so you could see better that it's them and that they're glowing. You have to be just at the right focal length like that to see them, because they move so fast. And you see how they move like beads on a string. There's many of them. The river is so full, and they just move like beads, follow each other. You see? Let me just go down here more, maybe you could see better. No, that was a better angle. You have to get at the right angle, and you have to be at the right distance there. Now you can see the orbs as they glow, they show themselves. and it's dark out now. Now there is no light at all. You can see the ones that are leaving the water, and you can see the ones in the water as they glow. So this is basically what I was trying to describe and show, is that our entire environment is polluted, not by us only, but by these things. It's infested with these things, and there are so many of them that I can't see any more pollution of any sort than this. This is like the worst pollution, because these are alien organisms and don't even belong on this planet. And they could be very harmful and dangerous to all our health, because they can carry all kinds of disease and bacteria and plagues and everything. We don't know what they can carry. We don't even know what they are. And no one has come out to even check the water and see what's in it. We drink this water, by the way. This goes right into Lake Ontario, like all the other rivers, like Credit River and all the other rivers around here. The Black Creek and all the other little estuaries that go and streams and all the other rivers around here that go into the lake. They feed the lake with all this water, and this water is saturated and packed, you know, to the gills with these organisms. And they reduced the fish population to the point where I gave up fishing. Okay, so this is not a small matter, and it is not something to be ignored. And if you think that you can ignore it for very long, you're mistaken, because these things are just multiplying exponentially, like it's going out of style, and eventually there'll just be so many of them, and they have to eat something, they have to feed, and they'll just keep on eating things, you know, whatever they get their hands on, I guess. They're intelligent, and there's a lot of them. They just swarm an individual entity, like a fish or a bird or anything else, alive, an insect. They even do it to plants. They swarm a tree and just make it disappear. Then they take the form of the tree and pretend that they're the tree. But then at night, they go up to the air and the tree's gone until the morning when they return. Then they return and become the same tree. They're intelligent. But look at them all. There's no light now. It's dark. And this is in the dark. And you can see them all in the water very clearly. Just look how many, and look how they move. Now these are intelligent organisms. They came from another dimension, many other dimensions, and they've been around who knows how many eons. And, you know, we shouldn't just ignore them, because they're not going to go away no matter how much we ignore them. They are here to stay. So I left the camera just on that one spot so you can see the changes, and you can see how many organisms just go through that one little spot in the water. Now think of how long this river is. I'm 7 miles right now from the lake. The lake is full of these things. All the Great Lakes are full of these things, and so is every river, stream, and every other water source. Even the pool here, there's 3 of them. They're full of these things. I've even filmed the pool, and they're full of water, because they're outdoor pools here where I live. And there's 3 of them, and they're full of these things. back off so you can see better. Maybe not. That's too far back. I don't know if you can see anything. The screen is so small that I'm unable to see them on the screen unless I zoom in more. Yeah, you have to get at the right distance. You got to be in the right focus, and you have to be at the right angle because they are in the water, and you have to penetrate through the water without getting a glare or getting the angle wrong so that you miss them, because any light reflects different or refracts different in the water, so even the smallest light will refract differently. I'm just moving at a different distances where I can see them the best, because they're starting to swarm around the camera and it's hard to show them. But you can see that the whole thing is just them in the water. Many of them. And you can see how they're swarming more and more around the camera. And these are the ones above the water. Just above the water. So you can see that they're picking up speed. Pretty soon there's going to be so many of them that they're just going to start glowing right above the water and all along in these trees and bushes and everything else. So I'm going to stop the camera so I don't waste the whole battery on them over here, because the moon is out, or the moon hologram is out. I don't want to take a picture of that or a video of that. You see how they swarm the camera and then you can't see anything. Now, these are older ones on top of the water. I'll just get it up higher so that you can maybe see them moving. So these are just coming right out of the water, straight up into the sky. All of them. Just look how many of them there are. And they're all different colors. And this is what's in our air, not just our water. We breed these things in because they're so small. You can breed them in without any problem. They come in subatomic sizes, let alone microscopic or submicroscopic. They come smaller than atoms, these things, and they're always a cluster. I've never seen an individual entity. No matter how small or how large these things are, they're always a cluster. So I'm going to stop the camera and save some battery for the moon.